The afternoon sunlight filtered
Thank you.
through
You're
the
very
tall
welcome.
windows of
Oh, it's
Harborside
beautiful.
Cafe,
Wow,
casting gentle
lovely.
shadows across the polished wooden tables. Daniel Foster sat alone, his fingers drumming nervously against his coffee cup. At 41, the architect had convinced himself that this blind date was a mistake. His colleague Brian had been insistent, though, practically begging him to meet someone named Victoria. "She's perfect for you," Brian had said. "Just trust me on this one." Daniel glanced at his watch. She was 10 minutes late. He told himself he'd give it 5 more minutes before leaving. The cafe was bustling with the usual Saturday crowd, families enjoying brunch, couples lingering over pastries, the comfortable hum of weekend conversation filling the air. Then the door opened. A woman stepped inside and Daniel's breath caught. She was stunning, with blonde hair swept back in an elegant style, wearing a coral dress that somehow managed to be both sophisticated and warm. But it wasn't her appearance that made him freeze. It was the 3 identical little girls holding her hands, triplets, no more than 4 years old with golden curls and matching pink dresses. Victoria Hayes scanned the cafe, her blue eyes anxious, and when they landed on Daniel, he saw something flicker across her face. Resignation, perhaps, or the weariness of someone expecting disappointment. She approached his table slowly, the 3 girls clustering around her legs like small satellites orbiting their sun. "Daniel?" Her voice was soft, apologetic. "I'm Victoria. I'm so sorry I'm late. And I'm sorry about—" She gestured to the children. "This. My sister was supposed to watch them, but she got called into work at the hospital. I tried to call Brian to reschedule, but he didn't answer, and I didn't have your number. And I just thought, well, I thought I should at least show up and explain in person, rather than standing you up completely." The words tumbled out in a rush, and Daniel could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she was already preparing to leave, to spare him the awkwardness of rejecting her. "I understand if you want to leave," she continued, her voice quieter now. "I know this isn't what you signed up for. A blind date is nerve-wracking enough without adding 3 4-year-olds to the mix. No one wants to date a woman who comes as a package deal. I've learned that the hard way." There was such sadness in those last words that Daniel felt something crack open in his chest. He thought about his own loneliness these past 3 years since his divorce. His ex-wife Sarah had left him because, as she'd put it, he was married to his work and incapable of real emotional connection. The words still stung, even now. He'd thrown himself even deeper into his architecture projects afterward, designing beautiful spaces for other people's families while his own life remained empty. But looking at Victoria and her 3 daughters, he saw something he recognized. He saw someone trying to be brave despite expecting rejection. He saw someone who'd probably heard "it's too much," or "I'm not ready for kids," more times than anyone should have to hear. And Daniel Foster did something that surprised even himself. He stood up, pulled out the chair beside him, and smiled. "Please," he said warmly, "sit down. And girls, there are 3 more chairs right here. I think we're going to need more hot chocolate. Do you like hot chocolate?" 3 pairs of wide blue eyes stared up at him. Then, slowly, the little girl on the left nodded. Victoria's expression shifted from surprise to something that looked almost like hope. You don't mind?" "Why would I mind?" Daniel asked, genuinely puzzled. "Brian told me you were someone special. He didn't mention you had daughters, but that doesn't change anything. Please sit. Let's start over." As they settled around the table, Daniel signaled the waitress and ordered hot chocolate for the girls and fresh coffee for himself and Victoria. The triplets were quiet at first, watching him with the careful assessment only children can manage. "I'm Daniel," he said, addressing the girls directly. "What are your names?" The girl in the middle spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Ava." "I'm Mia," said the one on the left. "And I'm Zoe," the third added, a little bolder than her sisters. "Those are beautiful names," Daniel said. "And you all look very pretty in your matching dresses." "Mommy made them," Ava said proudly. "She makes clothes. She's a fashion designer," Mia explained with the seriousness only a 4-year-old could muster. Daniel looked at Victoria with new appreciation. "That's impressive. Do you work for a company or independently?" Victoria seemed to relax slightly, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "I freelance from home mostly. It allows me to be with the girls. After my husband died 2 years ago, I needed something flexible. I couldn't keep my position at the design house and be there for them the way they needed. I'm sorry for your loss, Daniel said quietly. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was. It still is. Some days. Victoria's hand unconsciously reached out to smooth Zoe's curls. But we manage. We have each other, and that's what matters most. The hot chocolate arrived, and the girls focused on their drinks, with the kind of intense concentration children bring to such tasks. It gave Daniel and Victoria a moment to talk more freely. I have to ask, Daniel said, keeping his voice low and kind. Why did you think I'd want to leave? Your daughters seem wonderful. Victoria's laugh was tinged with bitterness. Because that's what usually happens. I've tried dating a few times since Mark died. My friends and family keep saying I need to move on, that I deserve happiness, that I shouldn't spend the rest of my life alone. But every time I mention the girls, men disappear. The ones who stick around through that conversation usually run the moment they actually meet Ava, Mia, and Zoe. She took a sip of her coffee, her eyes distant. There was one man who seemed great, very understanding. We'd been on 3 dates, and I thought maybe this time would be different. Then I introduced him to the girls, and he lasted exactly 15 minutes before claiming he had an emergency at work. He never called again. That's his loss, Daniel said firmly. And those other men's loss, too. Anyone who can't see how lucky they'd be to know you and your daughters. Well, they didn't deserve you in the first place. Victoria met his eyes, searching for insincerity and finding none. You really mean that? I do. Look, Victoria, I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like to raise triplets or to lose a spouse. My divorce was painful, but it's not the same as what you've been through. What I do know is that life is too short to let fear make our decisions for us. I came here today hoping to meet someone interesting, someone genuine. And I have. The fact that you come with 3 beautiful daughters? That doesn't scare me. If anything, it tells me you're strong, dedicated, and capable of putting others first. Those are qualities I admire. Mia had been listening, her hot chocolate mustache giving her an endearing charm. Are you going to be our mommy's boyfriend? She asked with the directness only children possess. Mia! Victoria's cheeks flushed. We don't ask questions like that. But Daniel laughed, a genuine, warm sound that made even shy Ava smile. Well, Mia, I just met your mommy today, so we're still getting to know each other. But I'd like to spend more time with all of you. If that's okay with you and your sisters. Can we go to the park? Zoe asked hopefully. There's a park with swings near here. Daniel looked at Victoria, raising an eyebrow in question. She bit her lip, clearly torn between hope and the instinct to protect herself from disappointment. We don't want to impose on your whole afternoon, she began, but Daniel was already standing. I had no plans except this date, he said, and I can't think of a better way to spend a Saturday than getting to know all of you better. That is, if you're willing to take a chance on me. The park was 3 blocks away, a charming green space with mature oak trees and a well-maintained playground. The girls ran ahead, their excitement barely contained, while Daniel and Victoria walked side by side, maintaining a respectful distance but feeling the pull of connection between them. I have to admit something, Daniel said as they watched the girls climb onto the swings. I was terrified about today. My ex-wife told me I was emotionally unavailable, that I couldn't connect with people. I've spent 3 years wondering if she was right, if I'm fundamentally broken somehow. When Brian set up this date, part of me wanted to cancel. What changed your mind? Victoria asked. Honestly, I got tired of being alone, and I got tired of believing that who I was 3 years ago is who I have to be forever. People change, we grow, we learn from our mistakes. Victoria smiled, watching as Ava called for her to watch her swing. She waved back, encouraging her daughter's joy. That's very insightful. Most people spend their whole lives refusing to acknowledge they need to change. They spent 2 hours at the park. Daniel pushed the girls on the swings, helped them across the monkey bars, and even participated in an elaborate game involving a princess, 3 dragons, and a castle that was actually just a slide. He made them laugh, and more importantly, he made Victoria laugh. As the afternoon sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, they walked back toward the cafe where their cars were parked. The girls were tired now, their energy spent, and they walked quietly, occasionally skipping ahead before returning to their mother's side. Thank you, Victoria said as they reached her car. "For not running, for giving us a chance, for making what I thought would be a disaster into one of the best afternoons I've had in a long time." "The thanks should go both ways," Daniel replied. "I came here today expecting to have an awkward coffee with a stranger and maybe exchange polite excuses about why we wouldn't work out. Instead, I got to spend time with 4 amazing people who reminded me what it feels like to actually enjoy life." "Does this mean you'd like to see us again?" Victoria asked, her voice hopeful but guarded. "Absolutely, on one condition." Her face fell slightly. "What's that?" "Next time, let's skip the formality. Let's plan something we can all enjoy together from the start. Maybe the zoo? Or that children's museum downtown? I want to get to know Ava, Mia, and Zoe just as much as I want to get to know you. Because you're right, you are a package deal. And honestly, Victoria, that makes you even more interesting to me, not less." Tears gathered in Victoria's eyes, but she was smiling. "The zoo sounds perfect." As she buckled the girls into their car seats, each one sleepily hugged Daniel goodbye. Zoe, the boldest, whispered in his ear, "I like you. I hope you come back." "I will," he promised. "I definitely will." Over the following months, Daniel became a regular part of their lives. He learned that Ava loved books and would sit quietly for hours listening to stories. He discovered that Mia had a gift for music and would sing constantly, making up songs about whatever she was doing. He found that Zoe was fearless and adventurous, always the first to try something new. And he fell in love with Victoria, her strength, her kindness, the way she could manage 3 energetic 4-year-olds while still running a successful freelance design business. He loved how she never expected him to replace their father, but welcomed him as his own person, someone who could add to their family rather than substitute for what they'd lost. There were challenges, of course. The girls had nightmares sometimes, crying for their daddy who wouldn't come back. Victoria had moments of guilt, wondering if she was dishonoring Mark's memory by moving forward. Daniel struggled with the fear that he wasn't good enough, that he'd somehow fail these 4 people who'd come to mean everything to him. But they worked through it together. They talked openly, honestly about their fears and hopes. They went to family counseling to make sure the girls were processing everything healthily. They took things slowly, respecting everyone's need for time and space. 8 months after that first unexpected date, Daniel sat in his carefully designed living room, a space that had always felt empty despite its beauty, watching. Victoria helped the girls decorate a Christmas tree. They'd been discussing moving in together, combining their lives more fully, and he'd been working on the perfect way to ask. "Girls," he called out, and 3 blonde heads turned toward him. "I need your help with something important." They scrambled over, curious and excited. Victoria watched from the tree, a knowing smile playing at her lips. "I love your mommy very much," Daniel said seriously, addressing the girls eye to eye. "And I love all 3 of you. You've made my life better in every possible way. I want to be part of your family officially, but I need to know if that's okay with you first." "What do you mean?" Ava asked, her serious nature always needing clarity. "I mean, I want to ask your mommy to marry me. But I'm not just asking her. I'm asking all 4 of you if you'll let me be part of your family forever." The girls looked at each other, that silent communication passing between them. Then Mia spoke for all of them. "Will you be our new daddy?" Daniel felt his throat tighten. "I'll be whatever you need me to be. I'll never try to replace your first daddy. He'll always be special and important. But I'd like to be someone you can count on, someone who'll love you and take care of you, and be there for all the big moments, and the small ones too. Like a bonus daddy," Zoe suggested thoughtfully. "Exactly like that," Daniel agreed, smiling through the tears he didn't bother to hide. "Then yes," Ava said solemnly. "We want you to be our bonus daddy." Victoria was crying now too, happy tears streaming down her face as Daniel pulled out the ring he'd been carrying for weeks, waiting for the right moment. "Victoria Hayes," he said, standing and taking her hand. "Will you marry me? Will you let me love you and Ava and Mia and Zoe for the rest of my life?" "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." The girls cheered, jumping up and down, and the 5 of them came together in a hug that felt like coming home. A year later, they stood in a small garden ceremony, surrounded by friends and family. Ava, Mia, and Zoe served as flower girls, wearing dresses their mother had designed specifically for the occasion. As Daniel and Victoria exchanged vows, they also included promises to the girls, promises to honor their father's memory, to build a family on love and respect, to face whatever challenges came with honesty and courage. That evening, as Daniel carried a sleeping Zoe to bed while Victoria tucked in Ava and Mia, he thought about that first date, when Victoria had arrived with 3 unexpected additions and he'd made the split-second decision to stay instead of run. It was the best decision he'd ever made. Victoria had been wrong. That day when she said no one wants to date a woman who comes as a package deal, the right person does. The right person sees the package not as a burden but as a gift, a ready-made family, hearts already open and capable of infinite love. And Daniel had been wrong too, when he'd believed his ex-wife's assessment that he was incapable of real emotional connection. He'd just been waiting for the right people to connect with, 4 hearts that called to his own and made him whole in ways he'd never imagined possible. Sometimes the best love stories don't begin with 2 people. Sometimes they begin with 5. Meeting unexpectedly in a cafe on a Saturday afternoon, and brave enough to believe in second chances, new beginnings, and the beautiful, messy, perfect chaos of chosen family.